The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark.
Glory to you, O Lord.
As Jesus was leaving Jericho with his disciples and a sizable crowd, Bartimaeus, a blind man, the son of Timaeus, sat by the roadside begging. On hearing that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, "Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me." And many rebuked him, telling him to be silent. But he kept calling out all the more, "Son of David, have pity on me." Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." So they called the blind man, saying to him, "Take courage, get up. Jesus is calling you." He threw aside his cloak, sprang up, and came to Jesus. Jesus said to him in reply, "What do you want me to do for you?" The blind man replied to him, "Master, I want to see." Jesus told him, "Go your way, your faith has saved you." Immediately he received his sight and followed him on the way. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
The fall colors have certainly been beautiful around here the last couple weeks, and recently I even got up to the North Country where things were even more brilliant. And as someone said to me recently, whoever can look at all those fall colors and think there is no God is crazy. Because God, the true artist, paints in colors more magnificent than any Michelangelo or Monet or Picasso. The colors are just so unbelievably brilliant. But for the 12 million or so people in the United States who are colorblind, God's creation might seem a little bit more muted, especially folks who have a more severe form of color blindness. They see in monochrome colors or just a few shades. They might not see the full splendor of fall foliage. The state of Tennessee recently tried to help this situation by installing special glasses in their state parks. And these glasses have recently been developed with special lenses that help many colorblind people see in colors for the first time. Now, I can't imagine that the state of Tennessee has foliage anywhere as nice as New Hampshire does. But if you watch the video online of colorblind people looking through these glasses and seeing color for the first time in their life, and not just any color, but the full splendor of fall foliage, the universal reaction seems to be is that they all burst out crying immediately because they're so moved by seeing a sight they had never dreamed they could ever see, a sight that perhaps we take for granted. Now, Bartimaeus in the gospel today, he is not colorblind, he's completely blind. He can't even see Jesus walk by. And we don't know what happened, if he was born blind or maybe an accident or an illness caused him to be blind later on in life. We don't know much about him, and neither apparently do the people in his town, in Jericho, because they just call him Bartimaeus, which in Hebrew literally just means the son of Timaeus. It's almost like they're saying, oh yeah, that's just Timaeus' son over there. Forget about him. Yeah, that's just a blind man who begs by the side of the road every day. They don't even bother to learn what his actual name is or what his story is. They walk right on by him. And how often do we do that as well? We walk right on by people without ever learning their name or their story. We just immediately say, oh, they're that person over there. A few days ago, I was walking into the parking lot here in the church, and this man walks up to me, and he was kind of shouting and yelling about something. He seemed upset about something, and I couldn't even figure out what he was saying at first. And he had a very disheveled look. He had these cut-off jean shorts that were all ripped up, and he had this kind of unkempt beard, and he had this big U-Haul truck that he was driving that was parked in the middle of the parking lot. And finally, I figured out what he was so upset about. He had been here in the church to pray, and someone had come up to him and said, "Can I help you?" Now, he took that to mean, get lost. You seem out of place here. What are you doing here? And so he was upset about that. And I began to argue with him, and I said, well, I don't know, maybe the person genuinely wanted to help you. Maybe they were seeing if you were all right. But he said, oh, no, they just wanted to know why I was there. And what do you mean, what am I doing here? I'm just here looking for answers like everyone else, man. Well, I kept arguing with him, but then I thought about it. He was getting back into his U-Haul truck, and I said, you know what? Maybe you're right. I'm sorry. I wasn't there. I didn't hear the tone of voice. Maybe a person wasn't being very welcoming to you. Or maybe they thought they were being welcoming to you and didn't realize how it would sound to you. And he began to drive off in his U-Haul truck. But then he slammed on the brakes of his U-Haul and he rolled down his window and he said to me, you know what? Maybe you're right. I'm sorry. I mean, look at me. He began to laugh. I'm kind of look out of place here, and I have this U-Haul truck, and it wasn't anything to get mad about anyways. And he drove off quickly. And I wish he had stayed longer because I felt like we were just beginning to hear one another. We were just beginning to have an actual discussion and get out of that confrontation of arguing and actually listen to one another, actually see one another's point of view. And maybe I could have learned more about what his story was, or I could have at least learned his name. We'll just call him Bartimaeus, I guess, because I don't really know what his name is. But isn't that what we so often do? We immediately just label people. We judge people by appearances, and we just say, oh, that person, he's rich, he's poor, he's black, he's white, he's conservative, he's liberal, he's charismatic, he's traditional, he's whatever, kind, nice. We put labels on people, and we put them into boxes, and we never actually bother to find out what this person is all about. Why they have the opinions they do, what their story is, what their name is. We never get out of that confrontational mode. Jesus never does that. When Bartimaeus cries out to Jesus, Jesus doesn't just walk on by. He calls to Bartimaeus and says, what do you want me to do for you? And that question could almost sound like a rude question as well, like, how can I help you? Because, you mean, I want to say, what do you mean, Jesus? What do you want me to do for you? He's blind. Of course he wants to see. But I don't think we should take Bartimaeus' answer for granted here. Because he could have easily said to Jesus, Jesus, give me some money. I want to have lunch today. Or Jesus, tell the people in my town to stop ignoring me and learn my name. But he doesn't ask for something relatively small like that. He has enough faith in Jesus to say, Master, I want to see. He asks very specifically for a complete healing. And I think there's a great lesson in there for our prayer, because sometimes we say, why do I have to pray? I mean, Jesus already knows what I need anyways. He knows the desires of my heart better than I do. Why does he make me beg for the things I need? But I think Jesus knows that there is something about our prayer that is healing in itself, because it helps us to become more aware of the desires in our hearts and to expand them. It humbles the pride that says, oh, I can do this all by myself. It heals that deep wound within us, which is the wound of unbelief, our damaged relationship with our Father in heaven. And so I think Jesus is inviting us through this story to ask for the things we need, and to ask very specifically, and to not be afraid to ask for big things. That's what Jesus desires for our prayer, because that's the basis of a relationship. That's when we begin to listen to one another and hear one another, and now I have a relationship with God. I'm journeying together with him. Jesus says, your faith has saved you. Go in peace. Go your way, he says. And the first thing that Bartimaeus sees with his restored eyesight is the beautiful face of Jesus looking on him. What a beautiful sight, more brilliant than all the fall colors. And through his tears, he manages to see which way Jesus is going and follows Jesus on the way. And again, I don't think we should take this for granted either, because Jesus had said to him, go on your way. Go any way you want. When Jesus gives us a gift, he doesn't force us to go a certain way. He always preserves our freedom. He allows us to choose. And Bartimaeus could have chosen anything. He could have done anything with the sight that Jesus had given him. But instead, he chose to follow the way of Jesus. He was so moved by this experience of God's love that it changed his life. And the way of Bartimaeus turned out to be the way of Jesus. Jesus, who is the way and the truth and the life. I don't think we should be surprised by this, because the beautiful sight of God's love, the beautiful experience of God's love always changes us. When we see beauty in the world, when we see the beauty of fall foliage, when we see the beauty of art or music, or the beauty of the liturgy, or the beauty we see in the face of someone who loves us, that moves us, that changes us, that helps us to see that there is a higher way to go. I want to go and meet the one who created such beauty. And in this life, we are all going around in U-Haul trucks, moving from place to place, looking for answers. But beauty helps us to realize that there is a higher way to go. And we can help each other get there. We can genuinely ask one another, can I help you? What do you want me to do for you? How can I help you along the way?